Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources, research, articles, books, you name it, and really dig in to pull out the insights that matter most for you.
That's right. And today, we're diving into something. Well, something that can feel pretty uncomfortable. It's a concept many of us try to avoid, maybe even see as a weakness.
Yeah, vulnerability. We've often been taught it's a flaw, something to hide. But the research, especially Brené Brown's work, it tells a totally different story, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It suggests that leaning into that discomfort, owning our imperfections, that's not weakness at all. It's actually the core of courage, connection, and living a really meaningful life. It's potentially our greatest superpower.
A superpower. I like that. So our guide today is Brené Brown. Decades of research into shame, vulnerability, courage, empathy. We've looked at her books, Daring Greatly, Rising Strong, her TED Talks, all of it.
hmm And our mission really is to help cut through what she calls that societal allergy to vulnerability, to show you it's not about being weak. It's about, well, showing up, being seen, getting in the arena of your own life.
Okay, let's start there. This allergy, it feels real, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Culturally, we're just conditioned to see vulnerability as fragile, gullible, maybe.
definitely.
Uh,
Think about it. When someone says, oh, they're so vulnerable, it often sounds like pity, like something's wrong.
right. Fix it, prevent it, armor up, control your emotions, project strength, always.
Exactly. But Brown's research, grounded in social science, just completely flips that script. It's not weakness. She calls vulnerability the birthplace of courage, connection, and creativity.
The birthplace. Wow.
Yeah, and she goes even further. The core, the heart, the center of meaningful human experience. That's not just like a nice quote. It's based on data. It forces us to rethink everything we thought we knew about strength.
It's kind of mind-bending. The very things we try to avoid, discomfort, uncertainty, not being perfect, losing control. Her research says that's where the good stuff comes from. Courage, connection, creativity.
Precisely. It's empirically supported. Your superpower lies in being willing to be seen, warts and all. And she talks about how the moments that really define us, the most beautiful things, often come out of struggle.
Okay, so if struggle makes us, why do we run from it?
That's the paradox, isn't it? We armor up, we try to control everything, but the data shows thriving comes from daring to enter the arena, messy as it is. Brown points out our defining moments are often navigating things we thought would break us.
Which leads to that really challenging idea she puts forward.
Yeah, that our capacity for wholeheartedness, for real joy and connection, might never be greater than our willingness to be brokenhearted, to be open to life's pain as well as its beauty.
It's a huge ask.
It is. And even Brown herself found this tough. She talks about being a classic American perfectionist, seeing exhaustion as a status symbol, proof of worth.
Right, productivity equals value.
Exactly. So the idea that struggle wasn't failure but a source of power, that was a huge personal reckoning for her too. It shows how deep this cultural conditioning runs.
So if embracing struggle is key, what's the biggest thing holding us back? What did her research pinpoint?
One word, really, shame. Brown is crystal clear. Shame is the biggest barrier to connection, to wholehearted living.
Okay, but we need to be clear on what she means by shame, right? It's not just feeling bad about something you did.
Exactly. That's guilt. Guilt is, I did something bad. Shame is, I am bad. It's that deep gut feeling of, I'm not good enough, or who do you think you are? It's about your fundamental worth.
And it thrives in silence, doesn't it? She says its survival depends on it being unspeakable.
Totally. When you feel that deep sense of being flawed, the last thing you want to do is talk about it. You hide it. You isolate yourself. And it's universal. Everyone feels it, unless they lack the capacity for empathy.
So why do we hide it so fiercely if everyone feels it?
Because at its core, shame is the fear of disconnection. It's that terror that if people really see us, see our flaws, our mistakes, our true messy selves, we won't be worthy of love. We'll be abandoned, alone.
That fear is primal.
It really is. And it shows up differently, particularly across genders. Brown's research found strong cultural messages for men to suppress vulnerability, to always be strong, stoic.
That anecdote she shared was powerful, about the man whose wife and daughters would rather see him die on top of his white horse than have to watch him fall off.
Oh, that just hits hard, doesn't it? It shows the immense pressure. And sometimes women might unconsciously play into that wanting openness, but maybe not the really raw, messy stuff. It creates this impossible bind.
Yeah, this unspoken contract that keeps men isolated.
Which leads right into another way we cope with all this discomfort, the shame, the vulnerability. We numb We try to dull the feelings.
And Brown points to some pretty stark statistics, suggesting the U.S. might be the most in-debt, obese, addicted, and medicated adult cohort in its history. Now, obviously, those are complex issues.
Sure, multiple factors. But she suggests widespread numbing could be a significant piece of that puzzle, a collective attempt to cope with emotional pain.
And here's the really chilling part. You can't pick and choose what you numb.
Exactly. You can't selectively numb. When you try to dull the fear, the grief, the disappointment, the shame, you inevitably dull the joy, the gratitude, the happiness too. You can't just numb the bad.
It's like trying to mute just the sad notes in a song. You end up muting the whole thing.
Precisely. So you numb, which makes you miserable because you can't feel joy, which makes you feel more vulnerable and alone, which makes you want to numb more. It's this vicious cycle.
Emotionally flatlined, chasing feelings you can no longer access.
Wow. Okay, so how do we break out? How do we get to this wholehearted living she talks about?
Well, Brown had this big epiphany moment. It was November 2006, 6 years into studying shame. She spread out all her data, sat at her red kitchen table, and looked for patterns among the people who seemed different, who engaged with the world from a place of worthiness.
The wholehearted people, what did she see? She saw people who, even amidst struggles, believed deep down, okay, I'm screwing things up, I'm imperfect, I'm afraid sometimes, but I am still worthy of love and belonging. It wasn't conditional for them. It was non-negotiable.
And crucially, she initially thought they must have had easier lives, right? Less trauma, better parents.
The common assumption. But the data blew that away. They were just like everyone else. They'd faced divorces, bankruptcies, trauma, addiction, failures. Worthiness wasn't earned by having a perfect life.
It was something they cultivated despite the imperfections.
Exactly. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about believing they were worthy even when imperfect. That's huge. We often wait to feel worthy until we achieve X or Y.
So true. And this led her to compare her own life to theirs, right? The do not do list.
Yeah, and it was a mirror of her own life then. Perfectionism, judgment, exhaustion as a status symbol.
Tying self-worth to productivity.
Constantly seeking external validation. What do people think? Performing, proving, needing certainty. She realized, this is my wrong list.
Oof. That sounds familiar. So what was on the wholehearted list?
Things that made her uncomfortable first, like creativity, real rest, actual play. Things we often dismiss as unproductive luxuries.
But it's not just knowing we should rest or be creative, is it? There are barriers, shame triggers.
Exactly. Like comparison. How can you be creative if you're constantly comparing your stuff to others? Or how can you rest if your self-worth is tied to how much you produce? You have to do the shame work to soften into these areas.
It takes real effort. So what's the path? What gets us there?
Courage? Comes back to courage. But not just battlefield bravery. Brown uses the original definition from the Latin core, meaning heart,
Which meant?
to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. It's about authenticity, vulnerability.
And the wholehearted people had that, the courage to be imperfect.
Yes, and crucially, the compassion to be kind to themselves first and then to others. Self-compassion isn't selfish. It's the foundation for connecting with others. You have to give it to yourself before you can genuinely give it away.
Okay, so courage is the path, and vulnerability is how we walk it, how we put that courage into action.
Beautifully put. Yes.
Yeah.
Vulnerability, as she defines it, is the willingness to show up and be seen in our lives even when we can't control the outcome. It's choosing to be present, flaws and all, without guarantees.
And she gives such real examples. Sitting with a sick spouse, making plans for the kids.
Yeah, facing that terror together, or that first date after divorce. Oof. Putting your heart out there again.
Saying, I love you first, asking for that raise, supporting your kid at tryouts, knowing they might fail.
These are what she calls meaning-making moments. Even if they don't go perfectly, they define us, they build character, they forge connection. They are life.
This really connects to that Theodore Roosevelt quote, the man in the arena. That was huge for her, wasn't it?
Absolutely pivotal. She said it changed everything. It crystallized what it means to be vulnerable, to be in the arena.
And it led to that fierce stance on feedback.
Yes. If you are not in the arena, getting your ass kicked and rejected, I am not interested in your feedback about my work. It's not about ignoring all criticism.
No, it's about being selective. Listening only to those who love you, are honest, and are also in the arena with you. Not the critics in the cheap seats who aren't risking anything.
It's a vital act of self-preservation, really. And living vulnerably, being in that arena, it's not comfortable. She's very clear about that. It requires practicing being uncomfortable.
Like her TED Talk experience, going viral, suddenly being incredibly visible.
Totally. She called it the most intense vulnerability professionally. An involuntary experiment in talking about vulnerability while being massively vulnerable.
Must have been terrifying.
She admits she wouldn't have done it had she known. But going through it, being seen on that scale, ultimately made her a lot stronger and a lot tougher. It connects to that Leonard Cohen lyric she loves.
Love is not a victory march. It's a cold and broken hallelujah.
Exactly. It's messy, it's hard, but it builds this deep, resilient strength you only get by daring to show up.
So, showing up requires trust, right? You can't be vulnerable without some level of trust. How does she define that?
She uses Charles Feltman's definition. Choosing to make something important to you vulnerable to the actions of someone else. Putting something precious in their hands.
Simple, but powerful. And it's not built in big gestures.
Yeah, that's key. It's built in very small moments. She uses the marble jar metaphor. Every small act of care adds a marble to the jar.
Like someone making space for you on a bench, remembering your grandpa's name, showing up for a funeral, asking for help.
Tiny things. Sliding door moments, she calls them. Little choices throughout the day to connect or disconnect. And choosing not to connect when you could have. That's a small betrayal. It takes marbles out of the jar.
Okay, so trust is built incrementally. How do we break down what trust actually is? That's where braving comes in.
Exactly. It's an acronym that unpacks the anatomy of trust. It helps you figure out what's working, what's not, both with others and yourself.
Let's go through it. B is for
Boundaries. You trust people who are clear about their boundaries and respect yours. Simple as that. Clear limits, clear expectations. Mutual respect. No trust without boundaries.
Makes sense. Well,
Reliability. Doing what you say you'll do consistently, over time, not just once. It also means knowing your limits so you don't overpromise and underdeliver. An honest no builds more trust than a flaky yes.
right. Being dependable, A is.
Accountability. Owning your mistakes. Apologizing genuinely. Making amends. And crucially, allowing others the space to do the same for you. If you shut someone down after one mistake, you kill trust. No accountability, no trust.
Got it.
Vault. This one, she said, shook her. It's about holding confidences, not just your own secrets, but respecting the sacredness of other people's stories, not gossiping.
Avoiding that common enemy intimacy.
Exactly. That's counterfeit trust. If someone gossips you, they'll gossip about you. The vault means respecting everyone's story.
Okay. I is for
Integrity. Choosing courage over comfort. Choosing what's right over what's fun, fast, or easy. Actually practicing your values, not just talking about them. Walking your talk builds trust. Non-judgment. Being able to fall apart, ask for help, struggle without being judged by the other person. And offering that same safe space to them. This is hard because we often feel better being the helper.
Yeah, it feels safer somehow.
Right. But if help can only flow one way, it's not a truly trusting relationship. You have to be able to both give and receive support without judgment.
Okay, and finally, G.
Generosity. Assuming the most generous interpretation of others' words and actions first. Then, if needed, checking in with curiosity, not accusation. Giving the benefit of the doubt allows space for accountability instead of just building resentment based on assumptions.
Wow, braving. That's a really practical framework. And it applies to self-trust, too.
Hugely. That's often the first casualty. When things go wrong, we stop trusting ourselves. How could I have been so stupid?
So you ask yourself those same questions. Did I honor my own boundaries? Was I reliable to myself? Did I hold myself accountable? Was I generous with myself?
Precisely. You apply braving inward. Because as Brown says, if your own marble jar is not full, if you can't count on yourself, you can't ask other people to give you what you don't have. Self-trust is the foundation. It's braving self-love, self-respect.
Which is maybe the wildest adventure of all.
Absolutely. So thinking about where vulnerability shows up most intensely, for many people, it's parenting.
Oh, yeah. Brown calls it utter excruciating vulnerability, total loss of control, constant uncertainty.
And she connects this to broader societal shifts, particularly post 9/11. That collective fear led to this drive for perfectionistic parenting, trying to shield kids from any adversity.
To the point where parents are calling HR about their adult kids' performance reviews.
Or college deans lecturing parents not to interfere. It's this well-intentioned but ultimately misguided attempt to create a struggle-free life, which just isn't possible or even desirable.
Because our job isn't to protect them from struggle.
It's to equip them for it, to raise resilient kids by modeling our own vulnerability and worthiness, telling them you're imperfect, you're wired for struggle, and you are worthy of love and belonging. You're not alone.
Like her letting her daughter try out for that sport she wasn't good at, the value was in the daring, not the outcome.
Exactly. And being there to process the disappointment with connection, not shame. That's equipping them.
And this connects to wider society too, right? Our collective ability or inability to handle vulnerability.
For sure. Brown argues that when we lose the capacity to hold space for struggle, for complexity, for uncertainty, we become dangerous. Our public conversations often become about fear and blame, avoiding the vulnerable middle ground.
But she sees hope there too.
Yes, a belief that people are getting tired of the division, the blame game,
Yeah.
that there's a growing silent majority wanting a more honest way. And that hope itself is a function of struggle. We have to grapple honestly with the tough stuff to cultivate real hope.
It's not passive wishing, it's active engagement.
Right. And on a personal level, she talks about the midlife unraveling, that point where we realize the protective walls we built when we were younger.
They don't serve us anymore, they're just heavy.
Exactly. They kept us safe then, but now they keep us small. They prevent joy, creativity, love, belonging. So that unraveling, while painful, is an invitation to dismantle those walls and live more fully.
It all comes back to that journey she describes. The long walk from what will people think to I am enough.
That's the core of it.
Yeah.
Shedding the need for external validation, embracing inherent worthiness, and accepting that we're all brave and afraid in the exact same moment all day long.
Okay, so we dare. We step into the arena, but we will fall. That's guaranteed if you're really living.
Absolutely. Daring means accepting failure as a possibility, maybe even a probability. Committing to falling, as she puts it. It's part of the deal of being brave.
And falling changes you. You can't go back.
No. Once you've been brave enough to fall, you see things differently. You know what showing up feels like, and you know what hiding feels like. Courage transforms you.
Which brings us to rising strong. Getting back up, what's the first step?
The reckoning. That's the moment you realize, whoa, okay, a button just got pushed. You feel hooked, emotionally activated. The key here is curiosity, not story spinning.
Instead of immediately blaming someone or lashing out.
Or heading straight for the pantry, like her foraging for carbohydrates example. It's about pausing, recognizing your hook, and being willing to feel the emotion without offloading it. Self-awareness is crucial.
What? Reckon with the feeling, then what?
Then you rumble. This is getting honest about the stories we instantly create to make sense of the situation. Our shit first drafts, or SFDs.
The conspiracies and confabulations.
Exactly. Conspiracies are when we fill in limited data with negative assumptions. Confabulations are the lies we tell ourselves honestly, like why we really skipped the gym. Our brains hate uncertainty, so they create narratives fast, even if they're wrong.
So how do you rumble with those SFDs?
You ask those three critical questions. What more do I need to understand about this situation? About the other people involved? And about myself? It forces you to stay curious, to feel your way through instead of jumping to conclusions. It's scary, but necessary.
She also talks about regret in this phase, doesn't she, as a teacher?
Yeah, a fair but tough teacher. She sees regret often stemming from failures of kindness and failures of courage. Wishing we'd acted differently isn't about beating ourselves up. It's empathy for our past self and an invitation to grow.
Reckoning, rumbling.
Yeah.
What's the final phase?
The revolution. This is when the process becomes practice. It's not a checklist anymore. It's just how you operate. You take responsibility for your emotions, your stories. You stop projecting and blaming.
You challenge those deep, I'm not enough stories.
Yes. The revolution is committing to leaning into discomfort as the path forward, not seeking constant comfort. That's where the lasting change happens. It's hard work, but it transforms everything.
And that poodle roost story just captures it all so well.
Doesn't it? The rooster, partially blind and deaf, initially isolated because of his perceived weaknesses.
But he didn't let it make him bitter. He embraced it.
He embraced it. He became the barn nurse, using his other senses to help injured animals. He found purpose through his struggles, turning vulnerability into connection and strength. It's just a beautiful picture of rising strong.
Wow. Okay, so this whole deep dive, it really reframes vulnerability, doesn't it? It's not the enemy we thought it was.
Not at all. It's the source of courage, connection, meaning. Brené Brown's work invites us to take off the armor, step into our lives, dare greatly, imperfections and all.
Knowing our worthiness isn't up for debate. It comes from being seen, not from being perfect.
Exactly. It means navigating shame, building trust marble by marble, and learning to rise strong every single time we fall with kindness towards ourselves.
It's a continuous practice. Messy, maybe, but definitely rewarding.
Absolutely. A path to a richer, more connected, more wholehearted life.
So as we wrap up, here's something for you to think about. If vulnerability really is the best measure of courage we have, how might your life change, truly transform, if you chose, even in small ways, to be brave enough to be seen? To show up knowing your worthiness is inherent, that it's never ever on the table? What might open up for you then?